So.
Kind of trapped in here.
Hopefully the weather turns better and we can get out.
I'm going to tip you. You ready?
Yep.
Alright.
I already kind of adjusted my chair so it wouldn't tip so bad.
Now, let's try this all again. We'll be expert at it soon. Oh, it is locked up again.
Yeah.
Could you feel that it was getting hard again?
Yeah. By this morning.
Does it translate through the chair somehow?
I can just tell because I've driven it for so long.
Okay.
It's kind of like when you're driving your car or truck and you've worked on it, even though when something's wrong with it.
Alright, so that is a 5mm Allen. And we need to fish that out of here. Nice. Now. And a 22mm is the nut itself. It's loose.
Shouldn't be too much getting it out, but
It is straight up. In fact, look at it. That's just dirt gotten in behind those seals. Just a lump of greasy dirt.
well, and then the dirt wears the bearings out, and the bearings will fall apart in your hand.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is just simply what's going on here.
Blast.
Then all this effort might not have amounted to much anyways, because you won't ever need to do this again. Alright. You're right about beating it out of there. Let's put this down to protect your carpets. I know, they're going to be ripped out soon, but
It's
still.
okay. Yeah.
Exactly how they're doing it then.
I've never seen a big deal on top.
You tell me the bearings come out the top, not the bottom?
Oh, there's two sets.
Okay, there's a snap ring there in the bottom. So inside the pivot you got a pair of snap rings, and the bottom bearing dropped out down there, which could be fun for us to get off here in a second. And the top bearing I tapped out by going past the snap rings with a socket. I bet if I just that's that off.
So they're not failing because they're crappy bearings. They're failing.
Well, they are crappy bearings. There's no doubt about that. They're definitely not high quality bearings in any stretch of that. Which is part of what makes me so mad that you're charged as much as you are for them.
But they'll last longer if we can keep the dirt out.
I think, yeah. I think you could be looking at nearly indefinite lifespan. You know, there's still a tremendous amount of lateral load as you're bouncing over things or going up a curb.
Yeah.
I mean, you're putting hundreds of pounds of force trying to crush those bearings inside. then they're not designed for that. But that's also not why they're failing. They're failing because they are getting contaminated, because they're sitting in pools of muddy water. That's why they're failing.
So why do they put those kind of bearings in if they're not going to hold up to that pressure and have that wheel design?
You want my honest conspiracy theory?
Yeah,
Because they don't make any money off us getting you this chair. They make money off of selling the parts to keep it going.
It's a $34,000 chair.
I know.
It costs more.
Costs more than the truck I drive. Huh?
It costs more than any car my mom's ever owned. So the water sits there and then grinds the bearings out?
But the interior of the bearing is rocking from side to side.
Uh-huh.
That is just wear. Because this one, you notice, is tight. So, I do not know how long they'll last without the grit in there. But I can guarantee you it's
They'll last
longer than
longer.
this. So some of that's an experiment on our part to see if...
They last.
and there are far more expensive ones we ourselves can acquire. If we blow through these, we'll move on to the next part. See, I can see the damage here from times that those bearings must have dropped out and left your chair just running, just grinding on those spots.
But the unfortunate thing is I can't stop when those come out.
No, of course not.
I
What are you going to do?
can't just dead stop and be.
Well, then you're trapped in the road.
Yeah, I already had to do that once. I got trapped in front of a bar when I broke a wheel off. Not this one, my other one.
Alright. Now I got to clean these holes out.
I hit the alley just right in between the lint and the dentist office, and it snapped the entire wheel off.
What would make this stronger is if instead of having two bearings right here, you had a bearing here and a bearing here. And that would, you know, by a factor of 8 or 9, reduce the power. It's like you know, it's like you're doing this instead of doing this. And so there's just a lot more power.
So you're gonna end up breaking the ends of the board off.
It means that the way this is designed, it gives the wheels a lot more leverage on the bearings. And that should just... And it did. Just went on up in there. Get out another of our brand spanking new rolly bearings. That should drop down in. Swap to this great big socket, which allows me to put the pressure on the outer ring. And then that bottoms out, and since this one fell out, clearly I don't need to put that in a lot of force. And that goes back in here.
Okay, though.
I do not like thinking about you stuck at the mercy of something that clearly is not your fault. Now, what I don't have are any instructions as to how much torque this should have on these bearings. I can't imagine.
They don't have any either. They
It's
just
much.
They just have me drive back and forth and watch how they spin. They don't have any instructions either. They just want to have me drive back and forth so they can see how they're spinning.
Well, there's your old one.
Yay.
You can hear it. And your new one bounces back. So that's got to be alright. So what I don't want it to do is I don't want it so tight that you're putting a whole crap ton of unnecessary stress. It's called preload. Too much and you destroy your own bearings. Too little, and when they wear in, they come loose. And I don't want them coming loose either.
But the wheel's not going to come out?
No, if they come loose, there's a fair chance. I think that's what's happening, is these bearings are getting sloppy, then they loosen up. then that nut starts to turn, which makes this nut turn because it's sitting on top of it. And then once this backs off, your wheels come apart.
And that's where I get the shaking.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to do it by eye. And it might be that when we get this video built, and if we give you a week or two, see, the more I tighten it, the tighter it spins here.
Mm-hmm. And
And I know that that's just because I'm crushing those bearings, and I believe I've got it just a little too far. Right, I think right there. I think what we should plan on is having you roam around for a while, and then,
assuming I can get out within the next few days.
you know, even around your house will help, but yeah, you know, mostly you outside. And then we'll come back here, we'll inspect the job we did and see how it's holding up, and adjust the torque accordingly.
Alright.
Alright, so here is the old O-ring, and you just peel the O-ring off, and I'm showing this for the video. You notice the fact that I have not yet opened any of the kit. Instead, I've got this bag of 100 O-rings that I spent $2 on. And it isn't really possible to tell the difference between the two of them. So, other than that one's worn and this one isn't. So that'll slip on there.
Probably got some better grip too.
In the video instructions. I'll have to source ones that are slightly larger.
Don't fit me.
I wonder if he needs 100 of those damn things.
I don't know, you could snap people with.
They're not very stretchy. Now, put this back in. And the purpose of this bolt is to crush down on the other nut, thus preventing the other nut from being able to loosen up. The downside of this bolt is that you have to leave the nut unnecessarily loose to account for the fact that this one is going to tighten it. So what I just put once it was tightened was just a little too strong. So I want to back it off right about there. There's the old one. And there's the new one.
There's a lot for you.
Alright. I am just going to swap the other one.
Okay.
Why not, since we're in here?
Might as well. They always seem to fail within about a week or 2 weeks of each other, even if you finish one, maybe the other one.